Hello, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Lono TV live show, and we are back again with the Lono TV debates under the motion ministers appointed to run ministries should be chosen based on their profession. Quite a controversial motion today in our studios, and of course, a debate is not a debate without panelists. And today on the Lono TV debates, we have our first person to introduce themselves, not the first speaker, but simply the first person to introduce themselves. And I invite to the podium Madam Angela to introduce herself.
It's a beautiful, beautiful good evening to you, our viewers, wherever you're catching us from. My name is Angela Chewe, from the opposing side, and I'm here to oppose a motion that stipulates that I quote, ministers should be appointed according to their profession. And I'm here to say no, because I believe that a leader is a leader. A leader is born a leader, whether they're educated or not. And we have so many typical examples of the presidents that we have had in our country that have run our country in certain ways, and we are able to judge because of that. Stay tuned for more of this beautiful discussion. Thank you.
All right, that was Miss Angela Chewe stating the fact that we have had so many leaders who were not chosen based on their profession, but they have done tremendous work. What do you think, viewers? Is it that indeed ministers chosen based on their profession are able to perform better than those who are just appointed based on their leadership skills? Okay, moving on, we have our next speaker, who is no other than Mr. Chileshe Kennedy.
Good evening, our viewers, wherever you are watching us from. I'm Kenneth Chileshe. I'm here to oppose to the motion which states government ministers should be appointed according to their profession. And I'm saying no. So stay tuned and watch as we discuss this motion.
All right, that was Mr. Kennedy Chileshe, who is opposing to this motion, which states, as I articulate, ministers chosen to run ministries should be chosen based on their profession. Okay, and that is not all. We still have more panelists coming forth. And right about now, allow me to welcome to the podium Miss Joynes Mulenga.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As they have already introduced my name is Mulenga Joynes, and I'm from the proposing side of this interesting motion which states that government should choose ministers based on their professions. Stay tuned wherever you're watching us from and enjoy the debate. Thank you so much.
All right, that was Ms. Joynes Chewe standing in as the opposition leader and, of course, proposing to this motion. Okay, and last but not the least, I welcome to the podium Mr. Godfrey to introduce himself.
I don't even know why we're having this debate, because it's like inviting your neighbor to become the head of the family. Anyways, I'm Godfrey Flames. Stay tuned as we proceed with the debate. Thank you.
Indeed, a man of short words. Okay, all right. We are still yet to hear from what both sides have brought to us in today's debate. And please remember to share this live stream. And we invite your contribution via the comment section. And remember, this debate is brought to you courtesy of Sajotech Mobile, the #1 phone accessories and phone repair services provider here in Kasama. Right about now, let us go for a short break. And when we come back, the debate continues.
We show you how the face of Kasama has changed each and every moment. Our production crew has now advanced in streaming live in full HD up to 4K. Lono Studios is well equipped for the service. We have 4K cameras for high resolution, DJI drone for aerial view, live streaming video switcher, gimbal for smooth rotation of an object, and many more equipments. You can book us for live streaming to render your services in sport activities, church services, road shows, corporate meetings and workshops, social gatherings, and many more adventure activities. Book your session now on 0973 173461. Visit or like our Facebook page at Lono TV. Love ain't no bonus.
Love and nobleness is what we stand for as Lono Studios. And today, in our motion for today's debate stipulates, as I articulate, government ministers, or rather ministers, should be appointed based on their profession. And proposing to the motion, I bring to you our first speaker, who is coming from the proposing side, and this is Mr. Godfrey. Mr. Godfrey, may you make your way through to the podium.
Thank you, Clarius. So, as already stipulated, the motion is about choosing a minister based on their profession. And as I earlier commented in the preamble, it does not make sense to get a minister from a profession which is not their actual profession. One reason why I would say this is ethics in itself. Each profession, each ministry has different ethics. One might want to consider, say, the military. Those guys have a different way of running things. They have a different way of how they run their ministry and how they run all their operations. So let's imagine we get a doctor, a medical doctor, to run the Ministry of Defense, for example. That person will find it difficult to get acquainted to the things that are in that ministry. The same would be said about, say, education. You wouldn't get a minister who is trained in education to run the Ministry of Agriculture. Again, one would want to consider the experience of that person. Experience is the best teacher, they say. So as one is a professional, they get to understand their profession well. Imagine if I start as perhaps a cleaner in the hospital, then I upgrade to being a nurse and finally a doctor. By the time I become a minister, I'm well acquainted with the things that run in that hospital. And it's not easy for me to be manipulated as regards what other people who are my subordinates can be able to do in that ministry. Again, back to ethics. As I said, each ministry has different ethics altogether. So if we marry ethics and experience altogether, then we're able to make a leader who will run that ministry more effectively. Moving on the same issue. If we choose ministers from a different profession altogether, we'll find that in the latter end, we lose out because, like I said, on experience, if we have to let that minister understand that ministry from scratch, it will take them a very long time. I mean, they need resources to train that minister to get acquainted to that ministry. What we end up is then we'll have bulk in the latter end because from the start itself, from the time of the inauguration of that minister into the ministry, they have to be groomed. So then imagine getting groomed by people who are your subordinates. Ladies and gentlemen, that does not make sense to me. More so, if the ethics of that person are from a different profession altogether, they are more liable to make mistakes because that's not what they are based in. As I said again, it's like getting your neighbor to become the head of your family because that person hasn't been in that ministry from scratch. So respecting that minister would be a bit difficult because we haven't known him from that ministry anyway. In the preamble, we talked of leaders even above ministries, leaders like presidents themselves. Yes, leaders can be made, leaders can be learned and whatnot, but one has to understand that leadership starts from scratch. They say charity begins at home. So if you begin your charity, your acquaintance with a ministry from the time you are born, then it's well and good. With this point, I rest my case. Thank you.
All right, all right. That was Mr. Godfrey bringing in so many valid points why indeed ministers should be chosen based on their profession. Okay, and they say a debate is not a debate if we do not have somebody who is going to propose, or rather another person who's going to oppose to the motion. And right about now, allow me to invite to the podium the vice president from the government who is going to tell us why it is important for ministers not to be chosen based on their profession. And right about now, allow me to welcome Madam Angela Chewe to the podium.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, for this awesome opportunity. And I'm here again, just in case you've joined us, I'm here to oppose to the motion which stipulates as a court, ministers should be appointed according to their profession. I'm saying no to this motion. And down here are my few points. The first point that I want to bring out to your attention is that a minister is not chosen to go and perform the exact job as, for example, the previous speaker is just from mentioning that it's not easy to go and work there because they are not acquainted. Mr. President, from the proposing side, let me bring to your attention that a minister of education is not appointed to go and hold a chalk in class, or to go and go in a classroom or in a lecture room to go and lecture students or pupils. A minister is appointed to offer leadership and not the actual job, like you said. For example, again, a minister of health is not appointed to go and do the jabbing, the injection itself. These people are there to offer technical support, the technical support that is needed in that particular ministry. Another point that I'll bring to your attention is that before a minister is appointed, as the president is still preparing himself to go and become a leader. He is acquainted with different people, and amongst the people that he's found with, that's where he picks who can take this leadership position or that leadership position. It does not matter whether I'm an agriculturist and I'm appointed to run a ministry of health. It doesn't matter, because leadership with with regards to ministry, it's supposed to be just to offer technical support. And the technical support I'm talking about is where a true leader is seen with their attributes. How are you able to lead these people? I'm sure we've all seen from all these governments that we have been observing. Most of the leaders, like for example, I'll give a typical example of Sylvia Masebo. Sylvia Masebo was once a minister of agriculture, and now, if I'm not mistaken, she's minister of health. She's not there to go to the health facilities to go and inject people, but it's because of the leadership attributes, the leadership qualities that she has to run a particular ministry. Another point that I'll bring to your attention is that leaders are born, they are not made. A leader is a leader, whether educated or not educated. Let me just bring to your attention some of the previous leaders that we had. I'll pose a question. What qualification did our lovely late President Michael Sata Chilufya had? He was a born leader. It's not because he was a lawyer, it's not because he was an economist, but he offered very good leadership qualities. So I think my opposers, the proposing side, do not have very, very valid points to actually defend this motion. He was a very good leader, and we are all here to prove that. I will not mention names, but we've had lawyers that have been leaders in our country, and we saw their leadership qualities. So I think you need to do a very, very big research for you to say that leadership should be appointed, ministers should be appointed according to their qualification. Another point that I'll bring to your attention is that a president, as he is running around, like I said earlier, as he is running around, he's able to check. Like, for example, in my case, if I'm to become president today, I would pick the people that I know that this person, with their ability, they can run this ministry. Believe me, it's not education that will give you a reason to say, no, Uyu, alisambirira sana so tunampera bumini. There are a lot of people who are qualified but they are not good leaders. They are, sorry to use this word, but they are very useless leaders. I rest my case.
Indeed, this debate is just getting interesting and interesting, of course, hearing that some leaders might be educated, but of course, leaders are born and not just brought about through education. What do you think, viewers? Should ministers be chosen based on their profession? Remember, we are going to be reading your comments in as much as this debate is going on. So don't forget to give us your contribution on this debate. And of course, moving on with the debate, okay, right about now, let us go for a short break. And when we come back, we go on with the rest of the panelists.
We show you how the face of Kasama has changed each and every moment. Our production crew has now advanced in streaming live in full HD up to 4K. Lono Studios is well equipped for the service. We have 4K cameras for high resolution, DJI drone for aerial view, live streaming video switcher, gimbal for smooth rotation of an object, and many more equipments. You can book us for live streaming to render your services in sport activities, church services, road shows, corporate meetings and workshops, social gatherings, and many more adventure activities. Book your session now on 0973 173461. Visit or like our Facebook page at Lono TV. Love ain't no bonus.
Welcome back, and the debate actually continues. Love and nobleness is what we stand for as Lono Studios, and right about now, allow me to call the opposition leader to come and give us their own side of the story in as much as this debate is concerned.
Good evening once more, and I'm here from the proposing side, as you have heard. So we are here with the motion which states, as I quote, ministers to run ministries should be chosen based on their profession. Why do I say yes to this motion? My first point is need to be specialized in his or her area of specialty for technical and administrative know-how. You know, as they say, experience is the best teacher. Imagine you put someone who's not experienced in the field that they're not trained in, both technically and professionally. It will be very hard for that person to cope up. Why? They don't have knowledge on what they're actually doing. You would find that his subordinates will manipulate the work and he'll be blamed for that. Why so? Because he literally has no idea on what he's actually doing. Allow me to quote from the book of the President and Ministers, page 130. It says, ministers, like managers of any organization, are appointed to a higher office based on their profession. Their profession will help them to run the ministry smoothly, following the best practices of their ministry. Another point is, the confidence of a professionalism will enable them to have a complete vision of their ministry. You see what I was saying? If someone literally has no knowledge on what he or she actually is doing in that ministry, they won't have a full vision of what they're supposed to deliver to the people. Then my second point is, according to Labor or Employment Act, one should be employed basing on his or her professional or technical skills. Yes, even this act is supporting, because they know to say when one has experience and has got knowledge on what he or she is doing, they'll be able to deliver to what the people are expected of him or she. So I'll give an example of a school. My profession is actually in the health ministry. Then I'm taken to the administration of a school. How am I going to run that school? I literally have no data on how to run a school. Because of that, people that are below me, you know, not everyone likes you at work, be it at work or even on higher professions. Not everyone is going to like you. They'll be able to manipulate your work and you will look bad at the end of everything. Then my third point is to be able to fully understand his or her work. Again, I'm going to quote from the same book that I said, Ministers and Presidents. It says, the confidence of professionalism will enable them to have a complete vision of their ministry, and they'll understand the levels of human resources within their control. You see, if someone has full knowledge on what he or she is actually doing, they'll have the confidence to work. Even if their subordinates down there try to manipulate his work, he'll be able to realize. And ministers, of course, are going to say they do administrative work. Yes, quite all right, but that's not enough. They issue statements, the final statements, the people, they're the ones who issue that. But if they've tampered with his statement, he'll be able to realize just there and then to say his statement has been what? Tempered. And henceforth, even the people that are going to ask him questions, it will raise a lot of questions if you give a wrong issued statement to the people out there. They'll be asking you questions of which, if you don't have data, you will fail to defend yourself because you don't know what you're doing there. The only thing that you are there for is administrative work. There'll be days that you have to pass through and
All right. Sorry to cut you short, Madam Joynes, the opposition leader. Due to time, we had to cut you short. Hope you are still keeping those points that you had remaining. And right about now, allow me to call upon, before we invite interjections as well as questions from both sides, allow me to welcome to the podium the last but not the least speaker, who is no other than the president himself, Mr. Chileshe Kennedy.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm opposing to the motion which states government ministers should be appointed according to their profession. So I'm here to say no to that motion. Why am I saying so? One, the first point, let's go to the Government of Zambia Act number 26 of 2016 and look at the responsibilities of a minister. Okay, so one responsibility, let me go through. Without prejudice and generality of Article 116 of 2 of the Constitution, a minister is responsible for, one, the business of government in the National Assembly. So what are the duties or responsibilities? So for a minister, one of the duties is to be in National Assembly, to make laws, to make policies. Now, how do they make these policies? It's not one minister who make policies for each ministry. They sit as a cabinet to make policies, and then they disseminate those policies to different ministries. So it's not a one-man show to say this person is going to develop this policy. The other responsibility is the introduction and implementation of legislation as assigned. So the president, me as a president, I have to assign a minister, and that minister is going to implement what I'm going to assign that person. He's going to implement the policies that the cabinet has made, not as an individual. Provision, the third one, it says provision to the National Assembly of information and reports relating to matters under the ministry or under the minister's statutory functions or controls as the National Assembly requires. So the minister is the one who gives reports on behalf of the ministry. Now, if we look at the ministry, is the minister going to be in each place? No. That's why it has technocrats in that ministry. These are the people that help the minister about any information that they require. These are the people that write reports and give to the minister to report to the cabinet in the National Assembly. Okay, another point that I want to emphasize on is about leadership qualities. So, if we look at the example my colleague gave of Michael Chilufya-Sata, what profession did he possess? He worked as a minister of health. He worked as a minister of local government. He also worked as a minister of home affairs. How was his result? Was he a policeman? Was he a health practitioner? Was he a social worker? But he managed to work effectively. Let's go to the Bible. In the books of Luke chapter 5, we are seeing Jesus Okay, we are seeing Jesus appointing disciples. He appointed disciples of different professions, different careers. But what was the purpose? Was to preach the word of God. Why didn't he choose the preachers or teachers of the law?
Now, okay. All right, it's like the debate is just getting started. Why didn't Jesus actually choose the preachers of the law, or rather those who were very acquainted with the word of God when he was choosing his disciples? That is the word from the president himself. All right, so right about now, I am going to allow one interjection, question, or anything from the proposing side. You can. All right, so right about now, I am going to invite one interjection question from, or rather a question from the opposition or the proposing side.
Okay, I have a couple of questions for the opposing side. One question is about, they talked of the minister only being responsible for administration. So that means the minister makes up a plan of who does what in the ministry. So then how do you send people to work that you've never even done? What if you've given them work overload? What if they give you wrong reports of how they have done the work? I mean, if you are not experienced in that field, you are liable to just accepting whatever they provide you with. Then, of course, my brother talked of policy makers. I'll still ask the same thing. How do you make policies that are going to benefit the people in the community and the people in that ministry if you don't understand that ministry yourself? Then lastly, you talked of Jesus getting disciples who are not even qualified in preaching the gospel. I think that's a different agenda altogether, because Jesus came to qualify the unqualified. I don't think encouraging ministers or appointing ministers based on a profession which they're not even based in, I don't think it can suffice. So I'd like the opposing side to clarify on those few questions. Thank you.
Arising from the opposition leaders right here, do we have answers from the government?
Oh, yes.
The vice president, please.
Oh yes, we do have answers. I think the first concern from the previous speaker is asking whether, correct me if I'm wrong, that how does a minister run it administratively if he's not acquainted? Okay, let me just maybe remind you that ministers are actually not appointed. They're not just picked from anyhow or anyone. I will advise you that ministers are actually picked amongst people that are educated, a person that has at least education know-how, at least even as they put them in that position, they will know that, okay, I have to do A, B, C, D, I have to attend to. I think there is one thing that maybe you forgot. Most of the permanent secretaries of ministries are actually the direct technocrats. If you've observed, you'll find that, for example, the previous minister of the previous permanent secretary of education, thank you. That man was actually a Debs at some point. So this is why, even if you appoint a minister who is not directly a profession, he has people down there, people who are going to run the ministry with his instructions and with his good leadership, not based on the qualification of the education.
Okay, all right. Has your question been answered from the proposing side? Anything you'd love to add, Madam Opposition Leader?
I think I would. She said, according to what she has said, it means it's actually unnecessary to get someone whose professionalism is actually the same with the ministry that been appointed. So you, my dear, Vice President, you've actually said it is all right even to get someone just because they have a little educational background to put them in that ministry of which they don't even have experience. Don't you think it's going to take quite some time for them to learn and just adjust, to the new ministry?
Sorry, Madam Opposition Leader, no direct confrontation. Please address our audience and not the other panelists.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that correction. Don't you think it's very, very quite unfair for both the government and the people at large to have that time wasted of which that minister is going to be learning on how to work in that ministry, rather than if he's acquainted in that profession, it will be very easy for him to run it because he's got knowledge and what to start from, because the time that he's going to be wasting on learning, he'll go direct on working on projects. And those other things he's going to learn as he is doing the projects, because at least he's got the knowledge. And as well as the reports. I like what he said about the reports, If someone brings the reports, I don't have data about it. I'm just going to say, this is all right, this is all right. Even if I haven't gone through because I don't have the data, but if they've tampered with that, I'll still repeat this. I'm going to be blamed for it because I am the leader. Quite all right, it's administrative work, but I have to know what goes on both underground and up in that ministry. Thank you so much.
All right. The debate is just getting interesting. What do you think, viewers, on our motion which stipulates, as I articulate, ministers to run ministries should be appointed or rather chosen based on their profession? What do you think? Please give us your contribution in the comment section, because we are going to be reading those comments. And right about now, allow me to go through some of the comments that you have been sending. And the first comment is coming all the way from... All right, the first comment is coming all the way from Madam Mukuka Chikaka, who is saying interesting. And the other one is coming from Mr. Jacob Francis Chilesha, who is saying here in IBEX, we are watching and following interesting debate there. We appreciate you and we hope you are going to share this live stream. And Madam Mukuka Chikaka continues on and says, for any ministry, what is considered first is profession. You need to be qualified for the position. Other than that, you need to have wisdom. And have leadership skills. I would like to assume in all professions, leadership management is taught. So ministers should be put in ministries that they were equipped for and not job on training. All right, interesting comment from Madam Mukuka. All right, right about now, I think before I read all the comments, allow me to welcome another speaker. I don't know if the president has a word or two. Yes, your conclusion, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to respond to his question where he talked about Jesus raising the standards of those who have low standards in appointing disciples. So it same applies to us. Even us who are living today, we can't neglect someone who has wisdom to say because he's not a professional, he cannot be a minister. While we have seen the leadership qualities that this person can be a leader. You see? So we cannot neglect that fact. Then the other thing, they are saying those technocrats may manipulate some reports because you don't have an understanding on that ministry. One, that shows that you are not a leader, you are a boss. So, because they want to dent your name, they are going to do that. But for a leader, someone who is a leader is going to get involved. Leaders are the people who say we, not I. So, if you are a leader, you are a truly born leader, they can't do that to you, because you have incorporated them in whatever you are doing. But if you are neglecting those people that are down there, hence those will be the results. But a leader who is not a boss, they cannot manipulate any report. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That is the president himself saying, indeed, if you are a leader, no manipulation can come, even if you are not actually a profession in that particular ministry in which you have been appointed. Any conclusions from the proposing side?
Okay. In the latter end, what we understand is that wisdom and knowledge are two different things. Somebody might be born wise, yes, but wise in what field? You're supposed to be specifically knowledgeable about a specific field that you are going to be operating in. Not just because you are born wise, then we can choose you as a leader of any ministry. I don't think it adds up. Then where administration is concerned, again, the average Zambian, these are statistics we all know about, the average Zambian is still poor. So they're always looking for ways to bring, ways of whatever brings the million faster, whatever makes the money faster. So we can't run away from the fact that even if you are a good leader, you're not a boss, as my previous speaker has said, people will still find ways of cheating, tricking around the things that are in your ministry. And in the end, you lose out. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. I like the term used, twerking around things. All right, that was Mr. Godfrey speaking on behalf of the opposition. And right about now, I'm going to invite any conclusions from the Vice President herself.
Wow, thank you very much. I just want to give this typical example of leadership. Like I earlier alluded about the previous leadership qualities and types that we've had, it's clear to say that it's not really about professionalism. Like I think the previous speaker has said, leadership is inborn. If you are a leader, and I love the point that you raised to say there are people who are born wise. I think if you are wise, you are wise. No two ways about it. A wise person, if you're wise. Kabia mu class, kabia oka fuidisheko. Okay, let me not say mu class, but mampela maybe a certain duty that go and yes, or a task, go and maybe talk to these people about A, B, C, D. If that person is just wise, no matter what, wisdom will flow, and people will be like, wow. There are a lot of people. You know, I'll give a typical example of myself. I haven't done any business course. I'm not a profession in anything to do with business. But because I know that I have that thing that is inborn in me. I'm a public speaker. I'm a business lady. I'm able to speak to masses of people. I'm able to push people to me. I'm not a marketer, but I think those are qualifications of somebody who has done marketing or public administration or something. So if you are a leader, if there is that vibe in you where you can just go all in, you just go all in and do things, you can still come out positive, you can still come out with good results, just like ministers are appointed. I'm telling you, within my circles, I know that if I become president, Clarius will be the minister of information, even though he doesn't have a qualification, because I know that with the way he handles things, with the way he does things, he is able to run this ministry. So it's not really about leadership, because if you are a leader, like if you are a minister of education, as a typical example, you're not going to go in a class to go and but to show that you are a leader. No. It's about the way you are running your ministry and the way people are coming out and the way you are taking your people within yourself. That shows the leadership quality, not really the qualifications, because to paper but scopo no bueno.
Interesting. So many educated people, but results are not showing. Indeed, right about now, allow me to welcome the opposition leader to give our conclusion, even as we wind up with this debate.
Thank you so much. Well, she's actually said a good one, because I remember when I was doing my secondary school, I remember the permanent secretary himself coming to teach us in class. In Mutinga province, you actually said that he can't come and do the actual thing. Imagine he didn't have the knowledge on how to teach, but he was the permanent secretary for what? For education.
He's not a minister.
I'm just giving an example. Okay. Thank you so much. Yes. So he's able to do what? To do the work. Even the minister himself is supposed to have the knowledge. If you check maybe the background of the educational minister at the moment, he should have a background of him being a teacher somewhere or having had the opportunity to be in that professionalism somewhere. Check his background properly. So I still strongly say ministers should be chosen based on their professionalism. That will save people's time and as well as unprofessionalism in their work. Thank you so much and have a good evening.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And right about now, allow me to go through some of the comments that you've been sending. And remember, you are the judges for this debate. Tell us who you think has actually performed better in this debate based on the points that they have brought out and based on their accuracy and the information that they have brought out. And our first comment is coming from... okay, we have Juma Mumba who is saying, you cannot lead something you do not understand. Well, hence, we need the professionals and the good leadership skills from these people who are appointed. For example, you can't tell a doctor to head the Ministry of Finance. Hence, we need minister to be appointed according to their profession. By so doing, will help the country to move. And Mr. Juma also continues and says, you cannot lead something you do not understand. Okay, I think this is the same comment. He also says, ministers should be appointed based on their profession and who are capable leaders that will be able to lead the ministry. As the world is evolving, we need ministers who are so professional and who cannot stand to the right of policies further, who can stand to the right policies, furthermore given direction. This will help the country to move from micro to macroeconomic. I would say we need credible leaders. Okay, Ms. Mukuka, I think I read this comment. We are going to move on to Mr. Andrew saying following. And we have Brian Chanda who says, I'm with you guys. This is interesting, but we also feel a pastor does his best when he's preaching. So I also feel a minister can perform well if appointed according to his or her profession. Because you cannot force a dog to eat beans. Definitely kutia luka. So to you, my lovely panelists, think also outside the box. If into Emma areas, yes, one. Okay, thank you so much. We also have Mr. Mastano Mukandawire who says, a leader has to be educated, boss. Education is the process of facilitating learning or the acquisition of knowledge, skills, values, morals, beliefs, habits, and personal development. Now, imagine a leader who has no morals, a leader who has no values. Actually, politicians should be the most educated. Okay, politicians should be the most educated. I quote from Aristotle and Plato, who says, where leadership is concerned, both philosophers agreed that best men should rule, and that the purpose of leadership was the betterment of the state. They also agreed that education was paramount to forming these best men. I can go on and on, but I don't agree with minister being picked from their profession, as their job is ceremonial. They don't do any technical work. All right. Interesting comments coming from our viewers right there. And remember, if you are a viewer out there, please remember to share this live stream. We also have Civile who is saying, great. Introduce discussion programs as well for those who ain't debaters. Okay, thank you so much for that contribution. Otherwise, you are doing a great job. Keep up with the same spirit. Back to the motion. Ministers should be appointed based on their profession because they will have a better understanding of what is expected of them. My mouth keep quiet wala penya ifintu. Interesting. Okay, this is where we are going to actually end on that note for this debate, and let us come back now away from the debate. Let us have a short discussion, ladies and gentlemen, and before that, let us go for a short break.
We show you how the face of Kasama has changed each and every moment. Our production crew has now advanced in streaming live in full HD up to 4K. Lono Studios is well equipped for the service. We have 4K cameras for high resolution, DJI drone for aerial view, live streaming video switcher, gimbal for smooth rotation of an object, and many more equipments. You can book us for live streaming to render your services in sport activities, church services, roadshows, corporate meetings and workshops, social gatherings, and many more adventure activities. Book your session now on 0973 173461. Visit or like our Facebook page at Lono TV. Love ain't no bonus.
No bonus is what we stand for as Lono TV. Okay, the debate has been very interesting. If not for Corona, I would say, can we hug each other in the spirit of fair play? Okay, you have been so great, our panelists. Okay, so now back to the normal state of things. Mr. Chileshe, do you really feel that ministers should be chosen based on their profession?
Okay, thank you so much, Claire, for that question. My only views, I can say it's a two-way thing, but I'll give them percentages.
Okay.
Yeah. So appointing someone who is not in that profession, I can say maybe 25%.
Okay.
Then 75% should the one who should be appointed is someone who is in that particular field.
Why
am I saying so? For the 25%, there are some exceptions where some people are born leaders, where they can be able to lead people based on the wisdom that God has given them. Then for the profession side, which I gave 75%, these people understand well their profession and the field they are in. So from the beginning, maybe let me give an example of a teacher. Someone starts from teaching, maybe becomes a DEBS, a PEO, then eventually comes to be a minister. He understands all the processes that are going through in that ministry. So that's why I'm giving it 75%. Yes.
Okay. Moving on. Madam Joynes, do you really feel ministers should be appointed based on their profession?
Definitely, yes.
Okay.
Why do I say so? You know, even if someone is born with the wisdom, that very wisdom, that's this one is very wise. Give that person. Let me say that person has never been to school from grade 1 to I don't know.
Okay, but in this aspect, we are talking
yeah.
about educated people, but
in
they are
this
not
aspect, I'm
professions.
just giving an example.
Okay.
Yes, then you like give them a grade 12 paper to write because they are wise. Are you sure they're going to pass?
No, they won't.
Definitely. So even if they have the wisdom and everything, I think it is just right
Okay.
for one to be, have the knowledge, the profession, and everything to be in that particular ministry.
Okay. Don't you
Thank you.
think they can learn to run a ministry? For example, presidents learn how to be presidents.
Presidents learn. You see, that's where time comes in.
Okay.
It's different from being a minister. So the time that minister is going to take, and a term is 5 years, hey?
Yes.
5 years, you're not sure about the second term if you're going to be given the chance.
Sure.
So in that 5 years, imagine I literally have no idea that I'm given to run the Ministry of Health. I don't have data, and then I spend a year and some months learning. Don't you think I'm going to, waste people's time and also my time and the government's time?
Sure.
So if I have the data and the knowledge, I have everything in that particular field that I need. It's going to be very easy for me to cope and learn very easily in those small areas which I'm not sure of.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. Mr. Godfrey, what's your real talk in as much as this debate is concerned?
Okay. Firstly, I would agree with what Chileshe was saying about 25 and 75%.
Okay.
Because nowadays, education isn't really what would consider to be a qualification. Because Clarius, look at this. You give me something to do. You give me work to do, and within a short while, I've given you the results, because we're now easily exposed to the internet. I can easily produce results. I can pass my grade 12 results without even knowing. I just studied the night before. It doesn't mean I've understood that thing. But if I'm professionally trained for that thing, say in health, there is this principle of beneficence. Beneficence implies what I'm doing should be for the benefit of everyone. So if I understand such principles, then I can't do something that is parallel to that thing. I don't want to talk about actual events, but we have incidences where items bought for the country are putting the people at risk, which is quite unprofessional. So if really someone is professional and they are competent with their work, we expect them to run the ministry effectively without many flaws as compared to someone who was appointed just because you know me and I know you, like Macho and the minister. I think that wouldn't suffice.
Okay, before we move on to Madam Angela, let us just go through this comment coming from Rose Boalia Kambole, who is saying, a ministry is not run by one man. It comprises of different people with their respective professions, and all put together come up with valuable and excellent work. Nothing changes even if they appoint ministers using the profession criteria at the end of the day. With or without the said profession, leadership lies in someone's capability. Okay, and she continues on and says, okay, someone's capability, I've lost that one. Okay, people have brains. We have people who can still do well even without the profession. Just the wisdom they have is enough to keep the ministry running and innovative. Otherwise, I love being on the opposition, regardless of the motion. It's funnier. All right. Thank you so much, Madam Rose, for that contribution. Madam Angela, what's your real talk on this motion?
Thank you very much. My real talk is still, I think, still the same as I was saying during the debate. I think choosing ministers should not be based on their profession. From my work experience, I've worked in the water sector before, and I think I've seen most of the ministers. Tamari Pwat engineer Shani, Tamari Pwat our NRDC. I think they were picked based on their wisdom and their capabilities. I'm sure through their work experiences, Vambi Kulasangati Vambi my director Kuzesko, not director Kuzesko, maybe 5 years ago. But Lelobai Savashta appoint as Minister of Finance, for example. It's about the capabilities that somebody has that should at least okay, but at least pabe kofie school. Of course, maybe you can have a degree or a master's degree or a PhD in another profession, but ministry is in line with what you've studied. It's about the abilities. It's about your experiences. What's your experience like? Can you manage to run a particular ministry? It's not really about, no, Panto, I studied English, I should go and become, they should choose me to become a journalist. No. I think it's about the abilities that somebody has. I think we've also noticed that mostly they can pick a minister who's away from the profession, but wala bika ko permanent secretary or kwata experience, because these people work hand in hand. It's a team, like the last comment. It's a team. A ministry is not comprised of just a minister. A minister is there to give guideline. A minister is there to give basically it's guideline and also run the ministry. But on the ground, there are people that run it very, very well. And then him is just there to get reports and make sure that things are done in a correct way. Otherwise, let's go and become professionals. Let's go and start. Let's go and get those degrees. Sure. Degree te paper feka. Degree finto sana. Go and study.
All right. Thank you so much, Madam Angela. Okay, so if we were to give it a vote, okay, if we say 70% of the ministers should be chosen based on their profession, then 30% chosen on their experiences, their capabilities, and other skills. What would you vote for? Or the other way around? We choose 70% capabilities and skills and wisdom, as we say it, then the 30% based on profession. Which direction do you think would be better for Zambia?
I think I would still side with 70% being professional. I think we've already discussed the reason as to why professionalism is important. That's what I would say.
Okay, Mr. Chileshe, if we say 70% professional ministers, ministers chosen based on their profession, then 30% based on wisdom, or rather their leadership skills and all that, would you go for that proposal?
Okay, I'll go for 70%. Why am I saying so? There are critical ministries which requires professionalism. So like the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Health. So those requires people who are professional in those fields. Yeah, but other ministries like Minister of Local Government, Minister of Work and Supply, there you can appoint anyone as long as they have the capability to execute their duties.
Okay, so interesting. There are certain ministries where actually a professional should be the first priority. Madam Angela, what would you propose?
I think I can agree with Mr. Chileshe. To be honest, there are certain ministries that are just so hypersensitive, like Ministry of Finance. I'm sure this is why HH had to bring the famous Minister of Finance. It's because he's experienced and he's also knowledgeable, like so such ministries, area I will blow you. Area I will blow you. So that's why he had to bring him back. So there, if we look at it critically, there is experience especially. Yes, and also because so that's why he was brought back. Just like he said, even Ministry of Health, at least we need a bit of at least experience. It might not be directly, but at least there should be some experience. At least currently the Minister of Health is Sylvia Masebo, right?
Yes.
Yes, and I believe that's not her profession. She was once? Oh, okay. She is. Okay, so that's those two. I think those two are the most critical. So our president ngamletumfa ayabira yakutumabika kwa wena abakwata mo area yabo, but the rest it's based on experience and their capability.
As well.
Defense, yeah, these three actually: defense, finance,
We can
and
add another one. There is justice.
okay.
If we start going on and on,
My area is yawa blow up. My area is yawa. But anyway, I think those three that I've mentioned personally, those are the most critical ones. So the rest, at least it can be from experience. You could have been maybe a director somewhere and then you're experienced. They can bring you in that area, you know. You become, the owner of the area.
All right, all right. I would love to know what ministry you can run properly, Madam Angela.
What do you think?
I think information, something related to communication and public relations, such things. All right, Madam Joynes, if we say 70% based on profession, then the 30% based on experience, leadership skills and all that, what would you go for?
I'll still go for the 70%. Being profession, yeah, exactly. So, kwenda fiance na balanda. Ukulandula to araposa fensta because it's very vital, very important. You need to have a paper no matter what. Quite all right, there might be challenges and everything, but a paper is just important. Yes.
All right, thank you so much. Allow me to go through some of the comments that have been coming through. And one is coming from Wellington Chanda, who is saying, a ministry is run by different people who include technocrats, like permanent secretaries, directors, etc. So I'm sure he's going for the idea that somebody can be a minister on top, but will be helped by professionals under. All right, then we have Brian Chanda, who says, guys, bonse mulibakali, bonseni 50+1. So this has been a draw, I guess. You can give yourself a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so this has been Lono Debates. Remember, you can be one of the panelists on our debates. It's actually free to be one of the panelists. Just send us and inbox us. And if you are available and you are in Kasama, you can be one of our panelists for next week's debate. Remember to like our Facebook page as well as subscribe to our YouTube channel. This has been clear. I think I didn't give my comment on this issue. Okay. Away from the debate, I also feel professionalism is important, and it actually helps to save time, because some of the ministers that have been appointed are based on favors given to them. And we have gone through this situation for a long time in Zambia, where we have had so many ministers chosen just because they belong to a political party, they are friends with the president, and their appointment are based on how the president feels upon that person. Let's say if you are my friend from, like you said, if you were to become the president, you would choose me as Minister of Information because of the relationship that we have, and you know me. but maybe perhaps a lot of things happen in someone's life. They can change. A lot of things can happen that will make someone not to be effective, and what you believe in them not to be exactly what they will execute. So I feel professionalism should be important. And like you guys said, there are certain ministries which we can be lenient on and say, okay, anyone, this person has the capability to be a leader, they can lead in those ministries, and those are very few ministries. If there are 10 ministries to be run, I think just 2 need someone who is simply a leader. Because talk of Minister of Defense, there we need somebody who has some background of the defense department or the force, maybe a policeman, a soldier, someone who understands when they say, okay, mu defense to refueka infutishaso. Someone understands what they are talking about. Oh, I am a AK-47, and why we need these things is because of this and this. When we say umutitwala wifey, maybe a doctor, a nurse, someone understands to say, okay, the reason why muma hospital ari bombapo ari monano kumana muma hospitals mula budire fi shani, someone who understands those things. Okay, so I'm not here to debate, but all right, I actually want to appreciate you guys for coming through, and we hope you'll be available for us when we call upon you. Remember, this has been the Lono Debates with me, Clarius J. Ara, and of course on behalf of the production crew and our technicians, it's goodbye for today.
We show you how the face of Kasama has changed each and every moment. Our production crew has now advanced in streaming live in full HD up to 4K. Lono Studios is well equipped for the service. We have 4K cameras for high resolution, DJI drone for aerial view, live streaming video switcher, gimbal for smooth rotation of an object, and many more equipments. You can book us for live streaming to render your services in sport activities, church services, road shows, corporate meetings and workshops, social gatherings, and many more adventure activities. Book your session now on 0973 173461. Visit or like our Facebook page at